Good morning. Today we're going to go over frequency separation in Photoshop. Now, what is frequency separation? What does it do for us? How does it help? Great questions. Frequency separation is an editing technique that divides an image between the two frequencies that we can visibly see. And what that means is that we can divide it between color and texture, or we can think of it as tone and color and then texture. Okay, so when you think of color, right, and we're looking at this image, you could identify maybe blue eyes, red background, red lips, tan and pale skin, brown hair, dark eyebrows, etc. Okay, and when we think of texture, we're going to think of the detail of the hair, detail of eyebrows, detail of skin, of lips, of facial features like the jawline, earrings, if we could see them better, eyelashes. All of those things are going to be on what's called the high frequency. Okay, so what we do in frequency separation is divide those two. We take one and we separate it from the other so that we can edit independent of the other. Okay, so if you go to Canvas, you will find I dropped this. This is called frequency separation and ATN. That might not be the right file. We'll find out shortly. If it's not, I will upload the right file up here. It's what's called a Photoshop action. So if we download this, what a Photoshop action is it is a series of steps that Photoshop will take with a push of a button. Okay, so it's kind of like a shortcut. So if we double click on that, let's go like this. We're going to open it from our downloads folder. This is kind of a little bit muddled because we have to go to choose application, and then we have to find Adobe Photoshop, and then Adobe Photoshop 2020. And then when we click open, this should open up in our actions folder. Now our actions, we haven't really discussed actions, but actions live under this play button. And it's appropriately a play button because what we do is we select the correct bit depth, whether it's 8 or 16, and then we just hit play. So how do we find out what bit depth is? Well, if we go up to the tab, this gives us all the pertinent information for the image, right? This is the image name, the zoom, what layer we're looking at currently, what color scale we're in, which is RGB, and then it says /8. That means that this is an 8-bit image, and our options are 8 or 16 currently. So in this case, we're going to open up the Flern folder. Flern is the company that I use for learning and teaching Photoshop. It's a really, really good guy. But anyway, so we'll click this. We won't expand it. See, we can see though that these are all the different steps involved in making frequency separation happen. It's pretty grisly, right? There's tons of steps involved. Okay, so instead of doing that, we're just going to click this, the 8-bit version, and then we're going to click play, and then it's going to run all of those steps. And then it's going to come up with this dialog box. It's going to say time to blur skin texture. Adjust the radius slider until you can't see any skin texture. So we'll hit continue on this. Here's our preview, and then here's our loop for our preview. So if I go to like maybe the worst parts of the skin right here, what I'm looking for not necessarily is this big blemish, but these little blemishes, okay? So I'm going to adjust the radius up until those sort of run together. It should be somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 30 points, or pixels, excuse me. So we'll say 24 here, and that looks pretty good. 23 looks fine too, whatever. And we'll click OK. And then it's going to give you this little helpful hint. It's going to say, now the skin texture and color are on different layers. To work on the skin texture, choose frequency separation HF. So texture is high, and use the clone stamp or healing brush tool. To work on the skin color, choose low frequency, Flern separation LF, and use the clone stamp healing brush or brush tool, right? So we have some other options with the low frequency. We've got clone stamp, healing brush, or brush, and they're intimating that we're supposed to only use clone stamp or healing brush. Anyway, so we click continue. Okay, and then this nice, neat little folder is created for us over here, which if we expand, here's our high frequency layer, here's our low frequency layer. So color is down here, texture is up here. Let's see what they look like independent of one another. Here's our high frequency layer. Okay, and as I zoom in here, you can see that all the texture is retained while all the color is gone. Okay, and then if we do the opposite, we can see that here is our low frequency layer, our color living below this. Okay, so what do we do here? Great question. On high frequency, you don't have to turn one on and off. You can edit these independent of each other, but you just have to make sure you're on the right layer when you edit. To be helpful, sometimes I will work on this scale. So I'm going to use the clone stamp. Well, I'll use the healing brush here. I will use just the spot healing brush, okay? And I will just come over here and click these. Excuse me, I need to use the healing brush, not the spot healing brush. You have to sample an area. So I will sample just immediately over here. And like this. Okay, and then I'll turn this back on. Okay, and then I'll turn it off to just kind of see the difference, okay? So it's a much better version of healing brushes. Okay, it allows us to come in and grab just tiny little sections. We can tackle every little bit that we want to, big or small. And I find that the smaller you work with, typically a softer brush, you get better results. Helps to kind of blend those lines out. So what I'll do is come in and grab all of these little blemishes, or discolorations. Okay, just kind of resampling every so often. Okay. Then if we need to work on discolorations, okay, so if we look right here, you can see that there's a pretty rough gradation across this skin value here, okay? So we're gonna go down to our low frequency layer, and we'll try to sample here and use the healing brush again. And see, now we're able to just edit the tone without changing the texture. Okay, so really nice, easy, smooth transitions here is what we can expect to get, right? So just to turn this on and off real quick, this is how we achieve, that really nice porcelain skin look. Okay, that's all I'm going to do here. That's enough to go on today. We're not really going to master frequency separation today. It takes a long time to get really good at it, frankly. But it's enough to kind of introduce it for us as we move into more kind of on your own photoshopping, and not necessarily me kind of holding hands all the way through. Okay. Anyway, we'll just zoom out and do a quick on and off before and after of that little patch that we worked on. It's a vast improvement, and it looks very real, right? It looks like she just had good makeup on, or has impeccable skin, which is what we're all looking for. So anyway, that's enough to go on there. No need to submit anything, but just make sure that you have the Photoshop action from Flern here installed into your Photoshop, as we will use it throughout the semester. Thank you.